Hello, everyone. So, welcome to week 3. Hopefully, you're doing okay. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm going to go over how to do this week's work and assignments. So, this week's check in and end of week check, well, I should say check out, but I'll be sure to change that in just a second here. This week's weekly check in and weekly check out are the same week as last week's, or they're the exact same. So, I am going to say that these are optional for this week. If you want to talk, feel free to go ahead and send me a weekly check-in or end of week check-in. But because it's the same, I'm going to say that if you're feeling the same as you did last week, don't feel pressure to fill it out. I'm not grading these necessarily. This is just for me to see how you're doing. Otherwise, next week I'll have a different set of questions for the weekly check-in and check-out. So we're going to go on to the actual content for this week now. So we're wrapping up our Unit 2 on diabetes. So we actually are taking the final assessment for Unit 2 this week. Before you can do that, I do want to make sure that you are pretty concrete on all the ideas. So there's just a little bit more that we have to learn before you can take the final Unit 2 assessment. So we're going to start off with this hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia folder. There are 3 scenarios that you're going to listen to about Anna at different ages in her life. Remember, Anna has type 1 diabetes. So you're going to learn about what happens to someone in a diabetic emergency scenario, and you're going to have to tell me whether you think Anna was hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic. So as you read through these links here, so you watch the video, read through this article. If it doesn't pop up for you here, you can always click on this external link and it'll take you to the actual website that it links to. Okay, so you'll read about hyperglycemia, what that is and what it means, hypoglycemia, what that is and what it means, so that you can figure out what's going on with Anna in these scenarios. There is a video on osmosis and water potential because that has a lot to do with why blood sugar affects us so much. And then I do have like a little whiteboard explainer on what is going on in your bloodstream to make someone feel different when they're hyperglycemic or when they're hypoglycemic. And then once you have all that done, you'll actually be able to answer the questions. So I'm going to give you a preview here of what your test questions are going to be, your assessment questions for this section. So for this one, you're going to tell me in scenario 1, Anna is what? Hyper, hypo, or hyperglycemic, hypoglycemic, or okay. In scenario 2, same thing. Scenario 3, and then I rewrote the scenarios here for you. Okay? Let's see. The next question is match the scenario to the correct image of what would be happening in that scenario. So let's say there's too much sugar in the blood, which of these pictures works? Talks about what happens to your cells. There's very little sugar in the blood, which of these works? And then the proper amount is in your blood. So you'll be matching those. Last but not least for that assessment, I went too far back. There is one last question, which is why might someone feel thirsty if their blood sugar level is high? Be sure to explain what's happening to the cells in this situation. So this is a short answer question. You do have to type that one out. All right, so that's it for that folder. So we're going to go back to week 3. You do have a group project, but I want to kind of go over what this is going to be about. So you do have assigned group partners. Which you can take a look at here. And then for each group, you are assigned a specific complication of diabetes that can result from having diabetes. So like group 3 is going to be covering hearing loss, group 4 is covering ketoacidosis, group 6 is neuropathy. But what you're going to be doing is basically creating an informative presentation that talks about these and how diabetes makes this happen. So one thing I do want to make clear is that you are going to be graded only on what you work on, not what your classmates did. You're only going to be graded on your research and your answers. So what that means is there are 4 questions to be answered in your Google presentation. However, you are responsible only for one question. Now, you can decide with your group who gets to answer what question, but you will only be graded for the question that you assigned yourself. So let's say someone is in the group and my partner say, okay, I'm going to work on question number 1. Well, my partner who works on question 1 is going to be graded for question 1. If I, in my group, said, okay, well, I want to work on question 4, I'm only going to be graded on my answer and my research that I did to answer question 4. Okay, so don't feel like you need to be responsible for everyone else's parts. You're only responsible for your part, and it's the only part that you're going to be graded on. All right, so just an overview of this project. Basically, you learned how blood sugar can really change pretty quickly and how that has consequences. And if you take care of it in that moment, there usually aren't any long-term consequences. But if you don't control type 1 or type 2 diabetes well, it can have a pretty big impact and a permanent sometimes impact on your organ systems. So you're going to report on the complication that your group was assigned. You are going to do the research for your question, and then I am actually going to be sending out the Google Slides so you don't have to worry about having it started. So just check your email. I'll have this sent out by Monday afternoon with you and your partners. Okay? Let me know if you have questions about that. It's going to be our first group project online, which is going to be interesting. But basically, when you're done, you are going to submit your assignment here. And this is so, like, when you're done with your section, you can submit to your assignment. You don't have to wait till everyone else is done in your group. As soon as you're done with your part, I will grade you on your part of the assignment. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. Then finally, once you have that all done, there is a final assessment for Unit 2. You are allowed a retake of this assessment. However, if you missed any questions, you will be able to see which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong. Please feel free to let me know if you have any questions about what you might have missed. I won't open these just because you might be able to see the answers if I do, but just so you can have a preview here. It is a lot of multiple choice. Some of these questions you might have seen before on previous quizzes throughout the unit. But otherwise, this is your final assessment for Unit 2. All right, so that's it for week 3. I know some of us are still getting caught up on week 1 and week 2, so I'm trying not to overwhelm you guys too much, but feel free to let me know if you need a little extra time or if you have any questions about how to do any of this work. All right, have a great rest of your week. Feel free to check in. Remember, office hours are Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 to 9:30. We do need at least 2 people to get started. Otherwise, we can't start office hours. All right, I'll see you on Wednesday.